Serious, since it was International Men's Day yesterday, what's one thing men struggle with? I taught kindergarten for a year. It's hard sometimes interacting with children without that dark negative thoughts in the back of your mind of how people might negatively construe any of your actions. Men can be great caretakers, love children, and not be pedophiles. But if you ask society at large, that's women's work and the guy must be a pervert. My daughter's kindergarten teacher is male. First time I met him he said she's so sweet. This other mom looked at him like he had said something heinous. Relax lady. Lots of men struggle with self-confidence because they feel they're not as good as others. Dude, that imposter syndrome is a killer. I can't tell you the number of times I think that Robert down the street has his shit together. And I'm just trying to hold things together. Believe it or not, mental illness. And the only thing worse than having mental illness is being seen as weak, inadequate, and insecure as a consequence. Source: was dumped by a long-term girlfriend after I cried in front of her for the first time. GFs. You should express your emotions more. Expresses emotions. GFs. Not leak hat. I've heard way too many relationship horror stories. Because of how well I can mask my actual feelings. I've come to feel I can't trust that anyone I can't hold at an arm's length is going the same and will reveal their true colors if given the time. Was left by my partner of nearly 8 years when I was severely depressed. It put too much pressure on her. So she left me for one of the bouncers at her work. Let me tell you, I f***ing thought I was at rock bottom before finding that one out. Some days you hit a ladder. And some days it's the snake. Just gotta pick up and start over eventually. You have no idea how much I agree. I've just been in a psychiatric hospital for 3 weeks. After a breakdown. The girl I was seeing told me it was the most insane thing she'd ever heard. That a 31-year-old man can react like I did. When I told her that her behavior was hurting me. Which was what pushed me into the breakdown. Being loved. Sometimes we need hugs too. Turning down sex. Just because. It's nothing to do with you. I feel fine. Just not right now. Or getting her off and not orgasming yourself. I'm perfectly happy going down. F-king you every which way. And getting you to orgasm followed by some naked cuddling. Me not coming has nothing to do with you and the only stress I feel about the situation is your insecurity because I didn't come. Everybody want men to talk but in reality the space where men can truly open up is very little. Edit. Thanks so much for the awards. I didn't expect so many people to respond. I hope all you people and your loved ones are safe and happy in these troubled times. Yeah, I don't get this. People say open up. You won't be judged and then immediately judge the shit out of them subconsciously. There aren't many support groups and the ones that do exist I've seen shun men out. I'm obviously talking about the ones media reported on. Rather than saying to open up. Give us a place to do just that. Second one. Playing with kids. I can play with my kids. But if anyone else's kids come near, I feel the need to be exaggeratedly hands off. Not because of the kids. But because I don't want to give a wrong impression to any bystanders who don't get it that a grown man can have fun playing with kids without something weird going on. Yeah, this is one of many reasons I'm child free. I can't take my nieces and nephews out in public while babysitting without some lady questioning me and threatening to call the cops. I know people say that it's okay because their heart is in the right place but that shit hurts. Half of the time we're told that doing anything feminine is unmanly. The other half of the time we're told that doing anything masculine is toxic. The thing about toxic masculinity is that it hurts men more than anyone else. And it's not just perpetuated by men either. Acknowledgement of the facets of masculinity that are toxic is a good thing. But a lot of people pay token respect to that notion while playing into it themselves. Which is a problem. Things like hyper-competition. Traditional gender roles. The rejection of femininity. Homophobia. The stigmatization of mental illness and being emotional. That kind of stuff literally kills men. They contribute to higher rates of suicide and MH problems, homelessness, abuse, violence, all kinds of nasty stuff. Just recently, both Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens displayed and reinforced toxic masculinity by belittling Harry Styles on Twitter for his latest Vogue photo shoot where he was in dresses. Now, I don't think Styles himself gives two shits about what some stuck-up conservative grifters think about him. But other men seeing those messages and ones like them every day might. And that's a perpetuation of an unhealthy system. Playing into ARP's safe at night statement. The looks of fear if you're a bigger guy just for existing. I'm a bearish looking guy and I have a natural scowling resting face. I don't mean to do it, but if I'm not paying attention or just thinking about something, I'll look angry. That combined with men not really being trusted around children has led to multiple confrontations with well-meaning people while watching my nieces and nephews when they were younger. Multiple times I've been asked to prove I was related to them. And one time a couple of women threatened to call the cops on me after I got fed up with their badgering and took my youngest niece away from the playground. This is a good one. I am always conscious of how women in potentially vulnerable situations are perceiving me. Just like walking home by myself at night, if you see a woman walking your direction, or if you happen to cinch up walking the same direction as one, I'll usually just go out of my way to create distance and or say hello, or happy Tuesday or something as friendly as possible. I know most people are usually just aware of others, especially at night if they are close by. As a big dude I don't worry, but it's still something I keep tabs on. Can't imagine just how it feels knowing your only option is to run or attempt to fight someone a lot bigger than you. Loneliness, depression, being told you're not a real man unless, the constant desire for validation that never comes, feeling unloved, unwanted, and unappreciated for almost all of my life. Bingo. Scrolled through to see if something fit. The validation and acceptance is what I am always seeking. Once it comes, it is quickly taken away. Then the other part comes. The depression. Being a man, it's looked down on if you express your feelings and emotions. Easier for me to just bottle them up and deal with it myself than to be looked at as weak. The fighting off the emotional breakdown is sometimes the toughest part. I'd say for me it's probably the myth that men feel safe at night. I'm a smaller guy, about 5 feet 5 and 130 pounds. Whenever I walk around during the night I do not feel safe at all and I'm pretty scared. Getting people to believe women can sexually assault men. I am the victim of that, and while I will be honest, it was not as horribly traumatic as incidents some of my female friends go through. About half the time when I tell the story the response I get is laughter. But if you flip the genders, the guy would be in prison, no question. Had a girl I wasn't interested in kept trying to kiss me and hold on to me at a party in my early 20s. Had a GF at the time and it was awful. I ended up making a little scene and she finally stopped and cried. Some thought I was an asshole, but the shoe fit, so I wore it. I can speak for my husband when I say that he struggles with finding male friendships that can go deep emotionally. He came from a group of friends who hug, tell each other they love each other, keep in contact, etc. And we moved away from them. Now he feels like any male friendship he makes is surface and doesn't connect. It's hard to make good friendships as a man if you don't share an experience with them. Like going to high school together. The internet is a little easier, but everyone's a freak online, so it gets weird. People yelling that bringing up men's issues undermines women's issues. For me it depends a bit on where when the men's issues are brought up. There are definitely many cases where they are only brought up with the aim to marginalize, deny women's issues. Saying this as someone with a strong interest in men's rights. Men's issues can be brought up on their own, or even in a discussion on women's rights to see how they influence each other. It is not right, however, to only do it to invalidate concerns of women. But fortunately most of the time it is pretty easy to tell the intention of the poster. Goes both ways, of course. Height shaming. I would never even be interested one bit in a woman that makes fun of you just because you're 1 inch away from the perfect height. I hate them so f***ing much. Edit. Sorry for my language, but I cannot express much. These people are what destroy mental states for some men. Edit. I wonder who's downvoting something talking about something that's such a big problem. HHHMMMMMMMMMMMMM. Being taken seriously when upset as a traditionally masculine male. I've seen great big hard bastards upset about serious issues only for people to awkwardly disperse or outright tell the bloke to man up or some such nonsense. I work in the security industry and believe me, anyone can have their feelings hurt in the right circumstances. If someone is upset, you can comfort them. It's not a bad thing to get upset. Having everyone automatically assume that I'm trying to assert some sort of dominance over them. No. Becky. I'm not f***ing gaslighting you. You're just wrong. I had this happen to me at a doctor's office. The PA confused a B cell and a T cell. So I politely told her she had them backward, microbiologist, and spent too much time studying our immune systems. She got all offended and told me she didn't appreciate me talking down to her. But no. She was just wrong. The hidden assumption that men showing their emotions is a sign of weakness. It basically made me suffer 30 years. I think for society as well, for men and women, it would be beneficial to get lessons on school about emotions and how to process and show them. At least in my day it was not the norm. I got called a kidnapper and pedo when I was 14. I was taking my sister back inside after we went to get some ice cream from the local truck. Lady walked up and started yelling at me and then screamed out I was kidnapping my sister. Luckily it was a small neighborhood and everyone knew us, so they started yelling at her. For all of the breast cancer awareness campaigns out there, almost none acknowledge that men, no, not just trans men, get breast cancer. They don't have to have man boobs either. Or how prostate cancer kills more than breast cancer does every year, yet it has close to no funding in terms of research, whereas breast cancer has the highest funding in terms of cancer research. Hell, we have a month focused around it. Society comparing us to a very small, very elite section of males, and thinking that statistically represents all of us. People complaining about men running everything like there is a good 95% of us doing the bullshit work no one wants to do as well. There are women that do that bullshit work as well, but people vastly overestimate how much power a lot of dudes actually have in a society work structure. Sure, maybe a lot of CEOs are dudes, but for the rest of the population they aren't 200k plus CEOs. I've found that some women only want a sensitive man as long as that sensitivity is directed toward them or their problems. In the moment that sensitivity isn't serving their interests, then that sensitive guy stops being sensitive and instead is just weak or unmasculine. I'm a human being with human feelings and emotions. I get frustrated and angry. I have problems that weigh heavy on my mind at times. Why does asking for wanting help with my problems make me less of man? Why am I expected to help everyone with their problems, but when I need help I'm expected to just deal with it? It's time women started accepting their portion of the responsibility for toxic personality traits. Constantly being told we're the problem due to the patriarchy. And if you don't agree, it's because you're toxic. If you bottle up all your feelings, you're suffering from toxic masculinity and should work on fixing that. But if you speak up about things that upset you, you have a fragile male ego. I don't know. Being a white male hasn't worked out too well for me at this point. It's my understanding that everything should be handed to me here at some point. But instead I keep getting blamed for all of the problems of the world while being reminded that any success I have had wasn't actually earned and was just because of my race and gender. 78% of suicide are male. 90% plus of prisoners are male. 60% plus homeless are male. 96% of military casualties are male. 78% of murdered are male. What else you want? Edit. I didn't even know there was International Men's Day. I thought it was cancelled because when they were trying to have a meeting about this topic it was interrupted and cancelled because of one feminist outside protesting. A man being unemployed and jobless is much more ostracized and looked down upon by society. Sure, women have that aspect pretty hard too, and apart from being excellent spouses, mothers and such, They must also equally excel at their professional careers, as being a homemaker simply isn't enough nowadays. And stay-at-home moms are kinda looked down upon too. But men have that aspect much worse. And a stay-at-home dad or house husband is almost deemed a sinner by society. Granted, it's one thing to be a freeloader and be a leech of others' money. I'm talking about folks who legit try their best yet still struggle a lot in their professional lives and financially. I know my husband is just really disappointed in the world that he's basically not allowed to give compliments to women without coming off as a complete creeper. He always asks me if I will go give the women the nice compliment for him. Society is garbage. Women often showing no thought or consideration for us or how their actions affect our mental health. And how they so easily discard us. As if we have no feelings. And we just have to accept it and move on. I'm married and sometimes I have to remind my wife I'm not just a robot and I occasionally hide my feelings so I don't upset her. She usually understands. But it's really easy to forget men are human too and our feelings and opinions are just as valid as women's. Where do I f***ing start? No one gives a shit if you're a victim of violence, no one gives a shit if you're sexually violated, no one gives a shit if you're mentally ill, no one gives a shit about your feelings, no one gives a shit about your vulnerability. And if you complain, show weakness, bring up injustices or double standards, people you know will start avoiding you like the plague. You've just got to take the abuse and soldier on like everything's fine and you're doing just great. Then you're the embodiment of toxic masculinity, so you should probably read up on social justice theory to balance that out a bit and you're good to go. There is a thesis that men should be able to change themselves to suit their partner, hetero relationships. But they should accept their partner for who they are. Seeing a damn doctor. Women have checkups through their 20s, 30s, and 40s based on biological and reproductive health. They have a reason to go in and something to at least check. Men after 18 and before 50 are pretty well on our own absent serious illness or injury. Can we name our primary care doc? No. Why? We didn't need to see that doc. And even if we did, we would be saying, I'm not even sure why I am here. Double quote. Trying to be men. Boys are taught that they are to grow up to be men, and one of those things is not being a bitch. Don't talk about your feelings or cry or WE because that's not how men should work. That's what women do. Fuck that. I see a therapist and a psychiatrist and it took a lot of work. But I eventually learned to come to peace with my volatile emotions and moods. I am what I am. Being told that circumcision is anything but mutilation. Mostly with you. Just be sure to distinguish religiously motivated circumcision on children from a medically necessary procedure or the consensual decision of an adult. Being taken seriously and receiving help with mental problems. I've been struggling for many years and I've learned that it's almost more common than an exception here that men don't get any help but are just told to stop complaining and learn to live with it. Even by those who are supposed to be professional. In dating. Height. The amount of girls I know who say they won't date anyone under 6 foot is depressing. Well, the majority of men are not 6 foot or taller. So that just leaves the women with less men to choose from. And increases the competition among women. So most women are not going to get that 6 foot guy they so badly think they need. Mental health opening up about stuff. For me personally, with people I don't know, I tend to give off a chilled vibe and actually talk about normal things, but it's once I feel more comfortable that people tend to see that darker side, which they go, nah, this is too much, or I should have trusted my gut, as you are just another creepy white dude. This has actually got me thinking recently that for a world that preaches about love and acceptance, it's really quick to turn its back on someone when they are clearly hurting, which in turn hurts them even more. Not being able to like girly thing because I am a boy. A very stupid example. I grew up thinking I must hate pink because I'm a boy and pink is for girl. Recently, in a game of cyberpunk themed D&D-ish game, I made a character whose aesthetic matched the old Britain punk era, and one of the thing I incorporate was a bright pink mohawk and bright pink paint on my invention. And you know what? I f***ing loved it. Since then I have started incorporating pink in many of my game avatar, because in real life darker color fit me better, so bright pink is still something I would wear. But now it's for other reason than it's a girly color. What else have I missed because my subconscious told me it was girly and not worth my attention? Yeah, girls get a lot of attention but we don't get any. People think we're too manly to have emotions, so we hide it for when we're alone. It's not fun. Good luck, my men. Find someone to talk to and who loves you. Men have an incredibly weak support system. We generally don't have friends we can vent with about relationship stuff like women do. Or just general mental health stuff. Admitting you are struggling to a male friend would just be weird. Same with things like hugs and reassurance. It just doesn't happen. We're kinda left all alone to deal with everything on our own. If you do have a woman in your life, you often struggle with being seen as unmanly or undesirable if you express any weakness. There is just so much pressure to be this rock. Social equality. I was watching an episode of Jerry Springer from back when Steve Wilkos was still a bodyguard. This woman smacked her husband 3 hard times and security barely intervened. Her husband hit her back. Nay. He barely tapped her when 5 security guards swarm on him and drag him to the floor. Where was this intervention when she smacked him across the face and pushed him? Also, in social equality, women are more likely to be believed when she tells a lie that she was sexually harassed than men are when they tell the truth that they didn't do it. Having emotions. Toxic masculinity has made having feelings or emotions a bad thing. For girls and gays, as my mom would tell me if I dared cry or sniffle near her. That issue kinda bleeds into other issues men have too. Hiding emotions because boys don't cry has led to a ton of mental health issues that go unnoticed because we hide it. On top of that, no one asks us how we are because men are supposed to be this bastion of mental fortitude and well-being. I don't know statistics or studies, but I would also wager to say men are less likely to seek help for their mental health issues as well. Sexism. Men get more shitty than women nowadays and can barely even take a walk with their daughter without others having that dark thought that they are a pedophile. Also domestic violence. We get shitty on real hard, and when we want to talk about it, everyone just laughs it off as a joke. Loneliness. We can't make new friends. For some reason, it feels weird to call up another guy to hang out unless I've known him for many years.